All right, let's look at example number 2 in this section 7.2. So previously we've been looking at problems, the graphs that we just looked at were just inverse variations in the form a over x. So those were nice because they all shared the same properties. They had the same asymptotes and the same domain and range. Now, when you have graphs that do not fit that same dynamic, then your rules are going to change a little bit. So we're going to look right now at rational functions of this form: y equals a over x minus h plus k. Y equals a over x minus h plus k. So like we just have right here, okay? Y equals a over x minus h plus k. Now, in order to graph this, here's the steps that you want to go through. You should write these down right now. So the first thing you're going to do is draw your asymptotes. And notice that your asymptotes are just your h and k values. So whatever your constant that you're adding or subtracting on the bottom, and then on the outside of the function. Now notice, again, because it's x minus h, our asymptote is going to be whatever the opposite of this is. So if this is x minus 3, our asymptote is going to be at x equals 3. And our y asymptote is going to be at whatever k is. So first thing we do is we plot our asymptotes. Then we plot points to the left and to the right of the vertical asymptote. So our vertical asymptote is here. That's our one that goes up and down. We pick points to the left, 3 points to the left and 3 points to the right. And then we connect those to draw our two branches of the hyperbola. So, and then we draw our branch extending towards the asymptote but never touching. So let's go back and look at here. So we've got, remember, our form is y equals, it's a over x minus h plus k. So x minus h plus k. And our asymptotes are going to be at x equals h and y equals k. So if we look at this, we can see our values right here. Now we know that to get our h value, we just take the opposite of this. So in this case, h equals -2. Our k value is right here. So our k value is -1. So what this means is we are going to go ahead and plot our asymptotes are going to be at x equals -2 and at k or y equals -1. So this means that if we look at this on a graph, here's our axis right here. At x equals -2, we're going to have our vertical asymptote, and at y equals -1, we're going to have our horizontal asymptote. So this would be the first step here, would be to draw your asymptotes. Okay, now your next step is going to be actually making a table for points to the left and to the right of your asymptote. So let's go ahead and go through this. So first thing we do, like we just showed, we have a horizontal and vertical asymptote. So our horizontal is at y equals -1, and our vertical is at x equals -2. For our points, we can pick out, we want to go to the left of -2. So we can pick -3, -4, -6, -5. For our points to the right, we want to pick -1, 0, 1, 2. These are going to give us our points. So we're going to go ahead and plot those, and then we want to connect them with a nice smooth branch line, hyperbola. And again, remember, this line is going to go and extend and approach our asymptotes, but never quite hit there. So again, the key here is first identifying your asymptotes. So remember, when you're in the form y equals a over x minus h plus k, your asymptotes are just your h value and your k value. Now, for the domain and range, our domain is going to be all real numbers except for our x values. It's all real numbers except x equals -2, because if we plugged -2 in here, we get a 0 on the bottom. And our range is going to be all real numbers except -1. Now remember, these are also our asymptotes. So our domain is all real numbers except our h value, and our range is all real numbers except our k value. That's how you find the domain and range. Now what I want you guys to do is I want you to look at each of these functions, and I'm going to have you state the domain and range for each one. Now I'm going to input these as 3 questions, so make sure you just input the domain and range one at a time. So in the first question, put the domain and range for number 2. For the next one, domain and range for number 3. And the last one, domain and range for number 4. So remember, 3 separate questions. Okay, so domain and range for those 3.